JB here. Wednesday, January 29th, 325, Fed Day. Talk quick about the markets, some names I'm looking at, go from there. Take a look at S&P is trying to grind its way back into the green. Fed Chair Powell just finished his presser. Pretty much a status quo, right? So the Fed kept the rates unchanged. They removed some wording in the Fed statement. It said, I think, progressing towards 2% inflation. They removed that. He was questioned about that in his presser, and he said that they were just cleaning up some of the language. It was kind of funny. And then a lot of questions around new policies, the new administration, tariffs. And he seemed to answer every question with the same thing he always does, that the Fed is always focused on its dual mandates, full employment, and stable pricing. So, I mean, there's not really much to I guess, glean out of that, out of the statement and his presser. Um, some were spinning it somewhat hawkish. I think probabilities for rate cuts dropped at the March meeting, like 25%. So, uh, to me, it's almost somewhat of a good thing because you want to get all uh, the fact that the markets can hang here despite somewhat of a hawkish spin. I think that bodes well, right? And then not only that, the longer they go without cutting rates, the more flexibility they have, right? So if they cut rates now, it leaves less flexibility down the line. So we'll see how things play out. At first, the markets did the knee-jerk thing. The SPY was breaking under 600. I was close to adding some put hedges, then finally found some support over 600, and it's been bouncing between 601 and 603 for the last 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Big thing after none of this will matter if after the close, Meta and Microsoft and Tesla disappoint, right? If Meta and Microsoft have misestimates or they have comments around guidance that is just not rosy or have some concerns, it's probably not going to matter what happened here with the Fed. I don't think that's going to be the case. I would expect strong numbers. Microsoft always tends to have strong numbers, and sometimes it's almost like it sells it in the after hours and then it rebounds. I don't know what will happen here today, but to me, I'm looking at the cloud numbers. So anyway, looking at the SPY, that 600 handle again came into play. We bounced, so that's a good sign there. And then maybe some chop here until today, tomorrow, and I would love to see that 610 come into play in the coming days. And also the yields. So yields were up pretty much at 2 o'clock. We hit the highs for yields, and then they've reversed, and it looks like almost yields are going to go red. The US dollar's weaker, so hopefully that's a trend here into the close and then earnings in 32 minutes. So then individual names, Shopify all the way up to 118 this morning, and then it's been chopping around all the way down to 114.80 after right into the Fed, and then it's bounced. So I'll just continue to hold the last of my calls. Already been a nice trade. It could have some FOMO, especially if the tech sector rallies on the earnings after the close. Shopify could be over 120. So I'll continue to hold those strikes. Finally pulled the trigger on the Arista network calls. And I don't want to be in a spot. It's right. It's 50-day moving average is 109. I was talking about the lows. Well, at least the high that it hit on Monday after its gap down was 112. That's a key spot. If it gets over that, it could be off to the races, especially again, if there's solid earnings and markets find footing in tomorrow. I was kicking myself because the 112s were, I think they were 40 cents yesterday. And then at times yesterday when I was looking to add some strikes as it was going, the 115s were 25 cents. So it's kind of somewhat disappointing when, I'm trying to find, strikes to play for upside, but premiums have just erupted on the strikes now. So don't be surprised if I lock some of my calls in Arista before the close, and I'll ride the rest. I was actually looking for higher strikes, but I'll just be patient there. All right, so that's Arista. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Trying to get my charts, and I don't have all my annotations here. Adobe, it's closed up 8 of the past 10 sessions. Today it looked like it was going to break 445 around 11:30. Found pressure down to 440, and now it's chopping around here. Might need the earnings as well with some of the other names after the close here. But I think that 445 spot, once that breaks, it's certainly looks ready. And I keep saying, 480. Sounds crazy, but so did some of these moves on Caterpillar last week, some of these other names. So don't be surprised. It'll be 3 weeks in a row if I get some calls into next week. But if it has strength tomorrow, I'll be looking for some more strikes on Adobe. Baidu gapped above that 200-day moving average, looked like it was going to rally. And unfortunately, the premiums on the calls were at the same spot they were yesterday afternoon, with the stock being higher than it was yesterday afternoon. Held the rest of my freebie strikes. I was going to look for some calls into next week. I'll continue to be patient. Just would have loved to see a close over that 200-day moving average, but still think if there's any hint that the China market's going to start to at least find a bid, and you saw Baba today running up, if those names start to go, Baidu's going to be in the hundreds. MDB, which is finally looks like it's going to go green here in a little bit. Disappointing. You saw snow and some of these other cloud names that rallied yesterday, finding pressure in the morning. MDB could be a monster if Microsoft posts decent cloud numbers today. It's 200-day moving average 279, so cleared that just a little while ago. Call me crazy. I think it'd be over 300 tomorrow, if not in the morning, in the afternoon, if Microsoft posts good results. Still holding those spec calls. Knock on wood, Roku was 83.75 just a bit ago. Still churning nicely. The one I was possibly looking at 105s, but my 110s are in the green, so I'll just hold those for February strikes. 86.75 is that December high. So if that breaks, and maybe this is the week it does it, I think that's off to the races. TripAdvisor was knocking on the door of 18 pretty much all day, and all at 1 o'clock it hit $18, and then just found some pressure here into the afternoon, late in the afternoon. Nothing's changed on my sentiment there. I'm trying to think of some of the other names I've been watching. Broadcom, AMD this morning was rallying, and I always use AMD as the comparison. It's like I always call it the forgotten stepchild or whatever, but it's almost like the trade down, what they used to call back when we had the was it 2013, like trade down plays, like you used to have Walmart and Target be this, and the Dollar Tree and Dollar Store, as the consumer sentiment was weak and people looking for deals. And you look at AMD, and now if the possibility that AI can be more efficient and function with less horsepower, and less cost involved and on all that stuff, AMD becomes one that maybe it's a sweet spot, right? You don't need to go and spend all this money on the NVIDIA chips. Who knows? But I look at AMD and I was like, oh, the 125s look interesting. I didn't want to add any more risk into the Fed Chair Powell. I'm not going to add anything into the close here, but AMD could be, maybe this is the turning point. Maybe it's the sign, hey, it comes back in the spotlight and AMD can start to outperform. So don't be surprised if I add some AMD calls before the week is out. And that's it, folks. Again, other names after the close. You have Lam Research, IBM, you have ServiceNow. So other big names that are reporting after the close. So it's going to be a lot of fireworks for earnings. All right, that's it, folks. I'm out of breath. Let's have a great day. I'll be back. Rock and roll.